Hello and welcome to the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. Before we get started today, I just want to let you know we have a tremendous guest, a great guy, a leader in the city of Philadelphia. Before we get started, I want to talk about two things, being proactive and being reactive. See, when you're proactive, what you'll do is this. If you walk outside and you see the clouds all dark, it looks like it's going to rain, what a proactive person does, they're going to grab the umbrella just in case. The worst case scenario is that they carry around a 1-pound umbrella all day with no risk factors because they're not going to get wet because they're prepared. What a reactive person would do, they'll contemplate whether or not they want to take the umbrella, probably decide not to take it, and then walk to work in misery, wondering why they're soaking wet, angry, and miserable at work. See, in today's society, peoples, we have to be proactive. It's no longer like it used to be where we can get a secure job and rest assured on a pension plan or the 401k. We learned the valuable lesson from Enron, right? How about Medicare and Medicaid? Okay, those funds will be diminished soon. We need to be proactive so that we can secure a good life for ourselves as well as our kids. Today's guest has been proactive his whole life. And what you'll hear is that not only is he proactive in his life, but he's also proactive in the lives of others. It's a pleasure to introduce, without further ado, Dr. Keith Leppard. Dr. Keith Leppard.
What's up, bro?
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming through.
Hey, without further ado, I told the audience that you were my interviewee today. Now, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, born and raised in Philadelphia, man. So the traditional story. Grew up in unfortunately traditional story. Grew up in a single parent home here. Me, my mom, and my sister. West Oak Lane section of the city.
Okay.
I always say the best decision my mom ever made was she never sent me to the neighborhood high school. So throughout my life, and that was even in elementary school. So I went to initially I went to a small Christian school until about 3rd grade. Then I went to school out in the Northeast called Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
So that was doing the desegregation program. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So he put us on the bus and took us out there, and then from there went on to middle school and then high school at Central. So that kind of gave me my foundation. Went on to Hampton after that for undergraduate, and made it happen from there.
Nice. I did notice you mentioned Central. Now, I do know that Central's one of the top schools worldwide. So the high school, the college, and things like that. Let's talk about your career path. What do you do?
Well, I'm a physician by training. I always say that, but entrepreneur by birth. Since the age of 5, I wanted to become a doctor.
Okay.
The physician I wanted to be when I was 5 wasn't the doctor I could be when I was 25. You know what I mean? So the world had changed as it relates to medicine. And I still loved it, and it was a dream of mine. But at the end of the day, it became more my mom's dream than it was my dream.
Gotcha.
So went through, saw it through, did residency. I'm a rehab physician.
Okay.
It's my specialty training, but as I said, that entrepreneurial side was just tugging at me because all throughout medical school, I had different businesses. I had a commercial cleaning business, I had a planning business, and even back in the day, I say even in middle school, I had a legal candy business. So I would go to the corner store, steal the candy and then mark it up, you know what I'm saying, from there. So it's always been in my blood.
So you were a budding businessman from birth. That's tremendous. Now, I was going to ask you, was being a physician originally your first idea, but you kind of answered that. The direction of medicine changed, so the physician that you originally wanted to be, it kind of altered, although you still fulfilled that goal, but in a different capacity.
And that was, honestly, just to cut in real quick, that was really about, making sure that young black men could see they could do anything. You know what I'm saying? Because if I didn't do it and go through with the process, I might be looking back now saying, damn, I should have went to medical school. I should have went on and did something else. And so it was, proving it to myself and being able to tell others who are out there, if you're interested, you can do it. Because I wasn't no genius, I just worked hard.
Right, and that's interesting because it's good for the audience to hear that you not only were motivated from your own goals and aspirations, but also you were motivated to help other people see what you've done and to set a trend so that others can follow. That's very courageous and commendable. All right, Dr. Keith Leppard, young man,
You gotta call me Keith then.
Keith, I'll call you Keith, definitely. Humility is great, he definitely possesses it. Philadelphia, you're well known, you're in the political arena, you're well liked, and that's huge. me as someone that don't know you per se, I may say, you have it made. Like, what more could you possibly want? Now, let's set the record straight.
I don't have it made.
Okay.
Okay, let's definitely set the record straight.
Okay.
I don't have it made. You know, each day I wake up and I always say it's not what I did today, it's not what I did yesterday, it's what we do tomorrow.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? So tomorrow's a clean slate and I gotta start up, get up and grind like everybody else, you know.
Cool.
And it's all about working hard and putting yourself in position to grow. You know, I'm a workaholic at the same time. So it's not like I got it made. I make sure, you know, and there was no silver spoon, as I said, you know the history.
Right.
I just talked about that, and we struggled, we cried, and all the above to get to where we are. And that's why we don't take it for granted. But it really, it boils down to wanting it more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I was never the smartest guy in the room. I finished middle of the pack pretty much in everything I did, at Central, whether it was at Central or whether it was at Hampton. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was the hardest working person in the room. So when I got focused, you know, then it was time to go.
Nice, nice. I know you talked about some of the adversity that you faced growing up and things. What's the most difficult challenge thus far that you faced in life?
I mean, honestly, the most difficult challenge probably was, you know, around the time I lost my mom. You know what I mean? That was it was a difficult challenge, but I was well prepared. You know, like when somebody sows into you as much as she did, it makes it a lot easier, you know, to continue on. But that was definitely a rough period for me. You know, as a professional or during my development, one of the other most difficult challenges when I got kicked out of school. So I went to Hampton, ended up getting kicked out of school. And at that point, you know, the choices were you come back home to the city, and you know what happens, you know, in Philadelphia and the obstacles and all the above, or do you know, my mom's very solid with that. Like, she didn't want me to come home. Just stay down there, you know, work, do something, you know, just don't come home. And so she made sure of that, because unfortunately when I was in Hampton, you know, my sophomore year, one of my best friends got killed, you know, just the stories of, you know, just random violence, and 2 weeks before that, we were all together on the same mission that got him killed. You know, and so it was a lot of complexity during that time.
Absolutely, and I commend you for sharing, because you know, we all know that, you know, adversity, you have to overcome it, but usually how well you overcome the adversity determines how well the blessing that follows is.
You know, a word that I hear people say, and it just fresh in my mind, is resiliency. It's how resilient you are. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to get hit, you're going to get punched, you're going to get, you know, there are always going to be obstacles in life. So you got to go under them, over them, around them, but it's going to be an obstacle. You're going to have to alter your plan. Everybody has a plan. The key is to have a goal and have a plan, but nothing happens as planned, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You want to be moving forward and be able to adjust, but nothing goes as planned.
Absolutely. Good insights, man. That's really good. Now that leads us to the next question. You know, speaking of adversity and things like that, it's something that none of us can avoid. You know, we all are faced with adverse situations in our life. When you're faced with adversity and thinking back over some of the big adversity that you've overcome, has quitting ever crept into your mind?
I mean, at times for a second, you know what I'm saying? It really comes down to just believing in yourself, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that you can do it, that you're gonna do it. You know, I believe in myself, I have a lot of faith, you know what I'm saying? So from that standpoint, I don't look at these things in the same way somebody else may look at it. I look at it and say, you know, how are we gonna figure out how to get it done instead of, you know, the obstacles? I know they're coming, it's just how do you handle it?
Absolutely.
And the one thing I always say as a physician, although, you know, in my new space in this world of design and print and creativity, physicians are trained to solve problems. You know, you don't come to the doctor and say you feel well. You come and say, you know, doc, this has hurt me, and my job is to figure out what your problem is and then treat you and diagnose you. I use that in life.
Got you. So you've actually transferred your occupational methods into real life. That's worked for you, and I do the same thing. So hopefully the audience, that will resonate with the audience, that they can see that that's some things that they can do to progress in their life as well. So I'm gonna ask you a difficult question. Tell us a fear or phobia that we would have no clue that you carry just from knowing you.
Fear or phobia? I mean, definitely a little bit afraid of heights.
Okay.
But even more so than that, I mean, in this, you know, you probably can imagine, but I'm afraid of failure. You know what I'm saying? That one right there that's why I get up every day. You know, I'm afraid to, honestly, I don't want to go back where I came from. You know what I'm saying? That's just not where I'm trying to be. And so it pushes me every day. I'm extremely still connected to the people I grew up with. It's no different, although I have a lot of, I have a broad circle and I have a lot of good friends and who are doing different things. My friends are still my friends, and those are the friends who I grew up with versus the friends who are now in corporate America, should I say.
Got you. Okay, you're a physician, you have other streams of business going for yourself, well connected. Why don't Keith Leppard just kind of relax a bit and just chill out a little bit? Why do you still go so hard?
I mean, Mark, just like I've heard you say before, it's not about me. At the end of the day, it's about creating a legacy for others and a pathway and opportunity. The more successful I get, the more I'm going to be able to help other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I want to be extremely wealthy.
Right.
But that wealth is to help other people. It's not for me. I can handle anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't need much. I don't have an extravagant lifestyle or anything like that. But I do realize when you're in a position of power and you have some influence and you have some money and some wealth to kind of, you can help other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And our community's needs are economic.
Absolutely.
They're not political needs, and I have interest in the political space and been in the political space, but our problems are not political, they're economic.
Right.
We don't have businesses, we don't own anything, we are financially strapped, and that is where our issues lie. And so that's why when I'm in a position to create wealth for myself and others, that's what I'm going to do.
Great. And again, you reiterate the need to help others, and that's huge. Okay, with all that you do, you work, the business, family, things like that, what's some hobbies or outlets that you have? You have to have some.
I mean, my outlets are really just chilling with my friends, you know what I'm saying? And that's, I don't golf, even though I'm getting ready to go on a trip and pick up the golf clubs and, get that right, but that's not really a passion of mine. I'm a workaholic, but I really like for when I spend time with my crew, my friends, and my family, that's fun to me. That's enjoyable. When I'm seeing others, enjoying life and being able to treat people, that's what I like to do.
So would you call yourself a simple man?
Very.
Okay, good stuff. So if I were to gather 100 of your closest friends and family and sit them all in this room right now and say, give us a one-word characteristic of Keith, in your opinion, what would the consensus be?
Loyal.
Nice. And that's a tremendous trait to have, especially when people recognize it that's close to you. And that's a great thing, especially as a leader. So I commend you for that. Okay, is balance important to you in your life?
Definitely.
And why is that?
I feel like as much as we do, being on the go, working hard, you gotta have time for yourself, you know what I'm saying, for your family, and that's all a part of it. So not just for the family, not just for work, for yourself too. Take a breather, get a massage, you know what I mean? Do something you wanna do, even if it's just sitting there, just in a room, you know what I mean? Just thinking. So you gotta have that balance, because it can be overwhelming, life as a whole. Everybody gets stressed, it's just how you handle that stress. I see people all the time, stressed out about different things. I always say you should not worry about things you can't control.
Right.
I don't stress about things that I can't control.
Right.
Now I worry about things that I can control.
Right.
But if I can't control it, that's off my plate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it ain't gonna change no matter if I think about it or not. So, that's why, and I get that, way through just taking time to reflect and think about these things and getting that balance that you just talked about.
Absolutely. And that's really interesting that you say you don't worry about things you can't control. So when you're faced with things that you can control, you still have a full tank of energy to really go at it. That's how you can control the outcome of situations.
That's a great point.
And that's good stuff. And that segues into our next question. Okay, now, we all are burdened by other people's views and opinions and things like that. We can't avoid it. Everyone always has an opinion. So how do you handle perception? How do you deal with that?
I try to stay in control of my own brain. You know what I mean? And so the perception of me is hopefully the one that, I've been able to create. It's like any other company or any other organization. We all have our personal brand. And I try to stay in control of what my personal brand, consistent with my personal brand, and people, I think, get a sense over time of who you are. People can talk about you, they can try to put things out in space that are not true to you, but the people who know you, like I said, those 100 friends or whoever who are closest to you, they know who you are, and that's really, at the end of the day, what matters. You know what I'm saying? there are no tricks up my sleeve.
Right. And I'll take a page out of your book. So dealing with perception, if I can just stay true to myself and stay in my lane and don't come outside of the confines of what I've established for myself, then that should help me out.
Well, you know that as an athlete, you know what I'm saying? You know that. You can't worry about what people think about you. You just got to run the next play.
Absolutely. Coach once told me, he said, Mark, don't worry about anything.
Right.
But as long as when that whistle blow, you go full speed,
Right.
that's all we care
it.
about.
That's it.
Good stuff. All right. Now, we talked about perception. We talked about, characteristics of yourself and things like that. So right now, I want you to think that, because I know you've had a lot of accomplishments over your life. I mean, just from your upbringing and the things that you were exposed to. So if you had to pick one thing, your most prized accomplishment in your life, what would you say?
It would probably be, and I was joking around with some of my friends probably a couple months ago when this happened, that if I died now and went to heaven, I'd be happy. You know what I mean? And I felt like my life has been fulfilled, and it was being placed on the board of one of the region's largest foundations. And so philanthropy is in my blood, even in this business, but being in a position to help others, help other organizations. And actually the relationship started where I was a consultant for the foundation, and I was working with them on a lot of criminal justice related issues, and specifically issues that affect young black men. And that wasn't really their space at the time. It was something they were supporting through me, with the mayor and the deputy mayor and all these others to try to flush that out and make sure that young black men, Latino men, when they come home from prison, they can have an option to get integrated into the workforce.
Right.
So it started with that, and through my work and through my efforts, and I think through my passion, the foundation really started to redirect its focus and started to focus on providing opportunities to underserved youth in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So to have a major foundation who totally shifts their entire focus on issues that are relevant and important that hit home to people like me, that's a huge accomplishment.
That's extraordinary. And again, here we go again. I'm asking you personal questions, but you find some way to, reshape it in the midst of helping someone else or, doing for others and things. And it's hard for me not to think that you're not as blessed as you are because you have such a big heart for others.
I mean, that's a huge part of it. And I just look back at, my entire life, I always say, every time I got accepted, so I went to, college, of course, and there's a admittance fee for that, and there's medical school and all the above, and all those applications, we never had money for the application. So my mom would borrow money from people for the application. She would write them a check in advance and say, cash this one in 2 weeks, cash this one in 4 weeks. I can't forget that, so it's never, that struggle is so prevalent in me that it's just like, it's hard for me to forget others and not try to help others because I know where we came from.
Right, that's excellent. Who or what motivates you?
Partially I would say I'm self-motivated, motivation to do better than, where I came from and what we had. That was definitely a motivation. I wanted to get out the hood just to be flat out, I was done with 3 chicken wings and fries, and not having, any money and all that other stuff. That was just something I had to get away from. And the fortunate thing for me was I didn't mind working. Some people are too good for certain jobs and, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. My biggest blessing, in life probably came through one of my businesses. I had a commercial cleaning business. And to put that in perspective, you clean the toilets. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the janitor. And, but I met one of the most influential people in the region through that, through this business. I'm sitting there one day and, he sits down with me and says, something different about you. You're not just a janitor. What are you doing in here? He got a sense of that. And it was through cleaning toilets every day that I met this gentleman who ends up selling his company for $7 billion.
Nice.
And so you can't really look at the situation. You just got to keep moving on where you want to go. And that's how I look at things.
Excellent. Final question. Now you touched on it earlier, but you didn't expound on it. You talked about if you were to die today, you would be happy. And you mentioned legacy and things like that. But when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be the super, super rich dude that helps a lot of people. That would be my legacy.
Hey, with that being said, Keith, I want to thank you. I think the
Oh,
audience
thank you.
wants to thank you. It's been a tremendous interview. I learned a lot about you. Like, my respect was already like at
Appreciate
99.9%,
Appreciate that, bro.
0.999, but
You
now
got the
it's,
other .1, right?
it's
0.0001.
5.1 now. I took you off the Richter.
Appreciate that,
You
brother.
know,
Appreciate that.
and before we close up, I just want to give you an opportunity to tell the audience, like, what, you know, how can they, you know, work with you? What do you have going on that could benefit people?
Well, sounds good. I mean, what we're doing now, we're sitting in my design and print firm called Replica. It's a creative hub here in Center City, right at 18th and Chestnut. We've been in business 32 years. I acquired the company about 2.5 years ago. You see, we're taking it to the next level. We do high quality work, so if you're looking for any design work or any print work, we're your guy. So, you know, you can come to our website, which is www.printatreplica.com. You can call us, 215-567-7107.
Tremendous.
Appreciate it.
Hey, again, thanks again for your time.
Thank you, brother.
It's a
All
pleasure.
right.
Hopefully you guys totally enjoyed the interview with Dr. Keith Lephart. It was a tremendous pleasure and honor to be able to interview him, and hopefully you learned a lot from the interview. As I started out in the introduction, I talked about being proactive and reactive, and I want to finish up with the same two concepts. If I were to take 10 of you guys right now and say stand in the room, and there were 10 envelopes on the side, and I would say on the count of 3, each of you go and grab an envelope. Maybe 4 or 5 of y'all will get up immediately and go grab an envelope, but you know what the others will do? You'll sit down and wait to see what's left. You see, the 5 that get up and go grab the envelope, that would be considered proactive. And what they're actually doing, they're positioning themselves to have an influence over the outcome, because now you can see what you're actually grabbing. Now, the people that just sit and wait for what's left, that's a reactionary response, and all you do is get what's given to you. See, too many of us are living life from a reactive standpoint. We just sit back and accept whatever's given to us. As we've seen in the interview with Dr. Keith Lephart, he's been proactive his whole life, started from humble beginnings, but now he's in a position where he can totally influence the outcome. Influence the outcome, people. Don't be afraid to do better. Don't be afraid to be all you can be, because no one is more equipped to live your life better than you are. Thanks for joining us here on the Marc Baxter Show, and be all you can be. And if you're ever worried about what to do, just go.